So, check this out. Imagine you have a file. It's tiny. I mean, comically small by today's standards. It's just 97 kilobytes. For perspective, that's smaller than the average email you send without any attachments. It's barely a blip on your smartphone storage. You could fit thousands of these files onto a single ancient USB stick. Yet, when you run this file, something impossible happens. A fully rendered three-dimensional planet appears on your screen. It's not a static image. It's alive. It rotates smoothly, with dynamic lighting casting shadows across its surface. It feels like a cutscene from a modern video game, but it all came from that impossibly small file. This wasn't a magic trick. It was a masterpiece of code. Back in the day, a group of artists and programmers known as the Demoscene were obsessed with this exact challenge, creating maximum output from minimum input. They worked on computers that were less powerful than your modern-day smart toaster. Most of their creations, called demos, had to be even smaller to be shared easily. These creators weren't just using the computer, they were mastering it on a fundamental level. They found loopholes, exploited hardware quirks, invented clever mathematical shortcuts to generate breathtaking visuals, and complex music from just a few lines of elegant code. It was a culture built around skill, ingenuity, and a shared love for showing off what a machine could really do when you spoke its native language. This wasn't about building a useful application. It was about creating pure, unadulterated digital art against all odds. That 97 kilobyte planet isn't just a cool retro artifact, it's a mindset. It represents a philosophy of creation that is becoming incredibly relevant again in our modern age of artificial intelligence. The idea of using a small, powerful instruction to generate a vast, complex result is the core principle that connects the hackers of the past with the creators of today. The tools have changed dramatically, evolving from raw assembly code to sophisticated AI models, but the fundamental goal remains the same: to conjure something amazing out of almost nothing. It's about being a digital magician, and the secrets are more accessible now than ever before. Let's dig a little deeper into that idea of bypassing the system. When a Demoscene artist wrote code that went around the operating system, they were essentially building their own tiny, hyper-efficient engine. Specifically for one task, running their demo, the official operating system was designed to be a generalist. They saw the OS as a layer of padding, a set of rules and limitations that got in the way of true performance, so their first move was often to bypass it entirely. Visual. Imagine lines of code flowing around a retro CPU chip, literally bypassing a block labeled operating system to connect directly to blocks labeled graphics and sound. They wrote code that spoke directly to the metal. Imagine telling your computer's graphics chip exactly where to place every single pixel, or instructing the sound chip precisely which waveform to generate at any given nanosecond. This direct-to-hardware approach unlocked capabilities that the original designers of the computers probably never even imagined. The Demoscene coders stripped away the software safety features to gain raw, unmediated access to the machine's full potential, even if it was risky. This philosophy is a world away from how most creation happens today. Right now, you can go to an AI image generator, type a sentence and get a beautiful picture in seconds. You click a button. The complexity is hidden behind a clean user interface. This is incredible for accessibility, and it empowers millions of people to create things they never could before. It's a powerful tool that prioritizes speed and ease of use, allowing you to focus on the high-level concept and your own artistic taste rather than the low-level execution. But it's important to recognize the difference in the craft. The Demoscene was about a deep, vertical knowledge of a single system. Today's AI-driven creation is often about a broad, horizontal skill set. Craft the right prompt. Curate the best results. Combine outputs from different tools. One required you to be a master mechanic, intimately familiar with every gear and piston. The other asks you to be a masterful director, guiding a powerful but sometimes unpredictable actor. Both are valid forms of creation, but they come from two completely different schools of thought. At its core, it's quite simple. Instead of storing the final massive piece of art, you store a small set of rules or a recipe that can generate that art on command. Think about it like this. You could store a giant image of a tree with every leaf and branch perfectly detailed, which would take up a lot of space. Or you could write a few simple rules. A trunk grows upwards, branches split off at an angle, leaves sprout from the branches. That recipe is tiny. Demoscene artists were masters of this. Their 97 kilobyte file didn't contain a three-dimensional model of a planet in the way we think of it today. Instead, it contained mathematical formulas. There was a formula for a sphere, formulas for the colors and textures of the continents and oceans, and formulas for the paths of the lights and the camera. When you ran the file, the computer acted like a chef, following that recipe to cook up the planet from scratch, right before your eyes. The art was never stored. It was generated live, every single frame. This is how you fit a universe into a file smaller than a selfie. Now, look at today's generative AI tools like Midjourney or Runway. They operate on a surprisingly similar principle, just on a massively grander scale. When you type a prompt like, "a serene lake at sunset, impressionist painting," you are not searching a database of existing images. Instead, you are providing a seed, a starting point for a generative process. The AI model, which has been trained on billions of images and their descriptions, uses your prompt as a recipe. It follows an incredibly complex set of learned rules and patterns to construct a brand new image that matches your description. The AI isn't thinking in a human sense, but it is executing a procedure. The small input, your text prompt, generates a large, complex output, the final image. The art itself doesn't exist until you ask for it. This is the magic of procedural generation, scaled up with the power of machine learning. The Demoscene used handcrafted math to create their worlds. Modern AI uses learned statistical patterns, but the core idea is identical. A compact, elegant set of instructions can unfold into something vast, beautiful, and surprising. Beat. So, what does this convergence of old-school ethos and new-school technology look like in practice? It looks like a massive force multiplier for creativity. This new reality has given rise to a new archetype, the modern solo creator. This is an individual who can now achieve what previously required a small team or even a company. Think about launching a new project, say a personal blog or a small online business. In the past, this was a daunting task. You needed a writer for the content, a designer for the logo and website layout, maybe a photographer for images, and a social media manager to create promotional clips. Each of these roles required a different person with a different skill set. It was a coordinated effort that took time and money. Today, a single person armed with a laptop and a suite of AI tools can tackle all of these tasks themselves, and do it with surprising speed and quality. They can start by asking a large language model to help them brainstorm a name and a mission statement for their blog. Then, they can turn to an image generator to create a dozen logo concepts in minutes, iterating on colors and styles until they find the perfect one. They can prompt another AI to generate clean, professional UI mockups for their website, giving them a clear visual target before they even start building. The content creation process is similarly accelerated. Need a 1,000-word article on a specific topic? An AI can produce a solid first draft in seconds. The creator can then edit, refine, and inject with their own personal voice and insights. This isn't about replacing the human, it's about augmenting them. The AI handles the heavy lifting of structure and research, freeing up the creator to focus on the most important parts. The unique perspective, the storytelling, and the final polish that makes the piece their own. This level of efficiency is a game changer. It compresses timelines from weeks or months down to days or even hours. It allows for rapid experimentation. If an idea doesn't work, you haven't wasted a huge amount of resources. You can simply pivot and try something new. This agility is a superpower for the solo creator. It democratizes the ability to build, launch, and grow projects, giving individual visionaries the power to compete with much larger organizations. It's the ultimate expression of the Demoscene's maximum output philosophy, brought to the world of entrepreneurship and content creation. So, we've seen the journey. From the tight-knit groups of coders in the 80s and 90s, squeezing art out of silicon with pure ingenuity, to the solo creators of today, orchestrating symphonies of content with AI. The through line is a deep human curiosity, a desire to make cool things and push the boundaries of what's possible. The Demoscene showed us that limitations are not a cage, they are a challenge that can spark incredible creativity. They prove that with enough skill and a clever idea, you can build a world inside a 97 kilobyte file. That spirit is more important now than ever.